Well, we're here. You made it through. It's Christmas Eve. The shopping is done. The presents are wrapped. The frenzy is over. Well, it should be. Not quite. So there's only one question. That is, why are you here? Why are you here? Now, some of you are here because you have to be. You had no choice. Now, Owen Bragg did not have an option other than coming here. Right, Owen? Owen is going to turn 1 on January 3rd. He didn't have a choice. His mother brought him here. There was no other choice for him. And some others of you are in a similar position. You may not be 1, you may be 41, and you're here because your mother brought you here. Now, some of you are here because, that's just what you do on Christmas Eve, right? You get together with the family, you have a festive meal, you exchange some presents, you go to church, you sing Silent Night with the candle. It's tradition. That's what you do. So you're here. Some of you are here because this is the celebration of the birth of Jesus. That we celebrate a day when the world changed. And then maybe there's some of you who are really not quite sure why you're here. Something drew you here. Maybe you came to see somebody, but you're here. And that's the important thing. The reality is, it really doesn't matter that much why you're here. The people that gathered around the manger the first time, the first Christmas, they had a lot of different reasons for being there. I mean, Jesus was there because his mother brought him there. So those of you that are in that situation, you are in good company. Some of you might say, well, Mary and Joseph, well, they really didn't have a whole lot of choice. I mean, they were in Bethlehem because they were forced to go there. I mean, you know the story, I just read it. Emperor Augustus decided that the empire needed to be a little more efficient in its taxation program. So everybody had to be counted. And the way to count everybody is to send everybody to their ancestral town, to their hometown. Everybody is counted, everybody gets more efficiently taxed. Did Joseph want to do that? I don't think so. I don't think he was happy about supporting the occupying Roman army that was brutalizing his people. He was forced to go there. And if there was anybody who wanted to be there less than Joseph, it was Mary. I mean, what woman who's almost 9 months pregnant wants to get on a donkey and ride for 95 miles from Nazareth to Bethlehem? Yes, I can see some of you. I can see the faces. Nobody, no woman would want to do that. She doesn't want to be there. But beyond that, it was challenging for Mary and Joseph to be in Bethlehem. I mean, some families these days have an uncomfortable or awkward Christmas. You might have Republicans and Democrats sitting at the same table. You might have Red Sox fans and Yankees fans sharing in the pudding. You might have people who've had a tough year. People struggling with addiction, loss. But Mary and Joseph, they show up in Joseph's hometown pregnant and unmarried. Now that might not be a big deal today, but in those days, in that culture, not only was that cause for being ostracized from the community, but a lot of young women in Mary's position were outright killed. That's what they did. It was not a gentle time. So Joseph and Mary show up at Joseph's relative's house in Bethlehem. Now, I know the story that you've heard over the years has been that Joseph and Mary go to the inn, and they go to the innkeeper, and the innkeeper says, "I'm sorry, there's no room." And they say, please, she's pregnant. And the innkeeper says, "Oh, all right, I guess you can go and stay in the barn, I'll be generous." And then in the children's version, then the innkeeper runs out and says, No, you can take my room. You remember that one? Well, no. The whole inn thing is just as fake as that little addition. This is not the time of Holiday Inn and Motel 6. And besides, Joseph was going to his hometown. He had relatives there. He would go and stay with his relatives. When you come back to Vernon, Mr. Burgess, do you stay at the Holiday Inn? No. You stay with your relatives. That's what you do. It's just common sense. So Mary and Joseph show up at the relative's house and they knock on the door, and Uncle Hezekiah opens it up and says, sorry, no room for you here. You can sleep with the animals, though. I mean, we wouldn't want anybody to think that we approved of you. It was not a pleasant time. That's a tough situation. Mary and Joseph show up at the manger because they're forced to go there. And they're not feeling good. They're feeling discouraged, alone, maybe even despairing. But there they are. And Jesus comes into the world just as the prophets had said he would. Now, the other people that come to the manger on that first Christmas, they're there for different reasons too. I mean, the shepherds, they get to the manger because the angels told them that something miraculous was happening. At first, they're terrified. You all know angels are scary. 8 feet tall, flaming swords, that kind of thing. They're scary. But they listen. They go to see what's going on, and the shepherds go, and they see the newborn king. The Magi, the wise men that Mr. Martin reminded us about, they show up. They know something's happening. They've studied the stars. They've studied the ancient prophecies. They know that there's something going on, that the world is turning. But they don't fully understand it, and they have to travel thousands of miles to get there. They get there, they're exhausted, but they're there. So there's a whole bunch of different reasons that people show up at the manger on that first Christmas. They didn't have the same reason. They didn't all feel the same way. In other words, it's just like us. They were all welcome, and so are all of us welcome. You are welcome at the manger. Now, some of us had a hard year. Maybe it was a year of sickness and struggles with health. Maybe it was that you lost your job, or somebody that you care about lost their job. Or maybe this is the first Christmas without mom or dad or another relative, another person that you loved. Maybe you're just anxious, afraid. We get told all the time, be afraid. We're supposed to be afraid of everything. Our country is in turmoil. Civil war is still going on in Syria. The Middle East is still upside down. Iran is on the move. That crazy guy in North Korea still has nuclear weapons. Be afraid. That's what we're told. Now, there's a lot wrong with the world. But Jesus' world? Jesus' world was also a violent, scary place. There was a lot to be afraid of in Jesus' world. You remember the story. Jesus is barely out of the womb, and King Herod tries to kill him. And not only does he try to kill Jesus, but he actually murders a whole bunch of little boys. A violent, scary time. Not a good time to be alive. So maybe you have some fears. Maybe you're like people back then, and you have some fears. And you're asking yourselves, just like those people did who showed up at the manger for the first time, is this true? Maybe, like the wise man, you made a little bit of effort to get here today. And you're wondering, does this make a difference? Does the birth of this child really change the world? Is there hope for something better? The good news is that everyone who came to the manger that first Christmas, when they came to see Jesus, they walked away from that encounter feeling differently, feeling more hopeful. The shepherds, they left the manger and they could not contain their excitement. They had to tell everybody about what was happening, that this child had come to bring peace and love into the world. Mary herself, the story tells us Mary herself, she treasured all these words. She pondered them in her heart. She was reassured that what the angel had told her, that her son would save the people, that the angels that told that to the shepherds reaffirmed that. And the Magi, when they left, they were overwhelmed with joy. Tonight, we remember that world-changing event. The night when God entered our world as a baby to show us that God is on our side, that God is always on our side, that God does love us and will heal us of all our brokenness. Tonight, we too go to Bethlehem and meet Jesus. Now, we're not going on a road trip to Israel. We're not even going on a road trip to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, just not that far from my hometown. But we go to Bethlehem, the house of bread. That's what Bethlehem means. Beth is house, and Lechem is bread. Bethlehem, the house of bread. The place where Jesus, who would later call himself the bread of life, came into the world. And you are invited tonight to meet Jesus as he once more comes into our lives. As we gather together, as we share the bread and wine of Holy Communion, Jesus promises to be present, to assure us that he is with us and to fill us with life. Jesus, God with us, is the biggest and best gift of Christmas. May that gift be yours. Thanks be to God.